Public housing, it is supposed to be a safe, affordable place for families in need.
Yeah, but we found out some Virginians are making too much money to actually live there. Our Chelsea Rarick investigates how many and what those people in charge are saying.
It's a system that's designed to help.
William doesn't plan to stay here forever, but for now, this is home.
It's a stepping stone.
Due to financial struggles, he's been living in public housing in Hopewell for about a year.
I was actually homeless, so I came out of being homeless and come into public housing.
But he says the process to get in wasn't quick.
I was on a waiting list for 3-4 years.
Thousands of Virginians are on waiting lists to get into public housing. According to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, public housing is intended to provide rental homes to eligible low-income families, the elderly, and those with disabilities.
We got people living here struggling, trying to get by.
But a federal audit last summer found about 25,000 families living in public housing whose income exceeded HUD's eligibility limits. 147 of those families are right here in Virginia. In Hopewell, we found one household making more than $110,000 a year. That's nearly $70,000 over the income limit.
That's unreal. I mean, I wouldn't make that in 50 years.
Wow. Why would they be in public housing?
That's a good question.
That's a lot.
We wanted to speak with the executive director here at the Hopewell Redevelopment Housing Authority about the findings of the audit. He declined our request for an on-camera interview, but told me that currently only one household fits the criteria of being over the income, and they are working to address the household. He also says that he doesn't believe there's an over-income issue here in Hopewell. In an email, the executive director says he's not aware of a household making over $110,000. Currently, as of July 11th, he says there were 1,063 people on the waiting list for the city's 360 public housing units and 1,471 for the Housing Choice Voucher Program. In Richmond, more than 20 families are over the income limit, including one that has exceeded it by nearly $20,000. Right now, more than 2,800 people are on the RRHA waiting list, including 937 who are elderly.
Basically, HUD establishes income limits.
RRHA Chief Operating Officer Carol Jones Gilbert says HUD's rules state that a household only has to be under the income limit at the time of the application process. So there's no policy in place to evict someone over the limit afterwards.
Currently, it is at a housing authority's discretion if they wanted to have families, a policy to determine if families that exceeded the income limit at any time during occupancy would no longer be eligible.
What do you say to taxpayers who look at some of these incomes and say, my tax dollars are going towards public housing and some of these households make more money than I do?
I would say that's probably the exception and not the rule. Here in Richmond, 89% of our current population is extremely low income, and only about 1% is at over 80% of income.
RRHA has now put in their policies that they will address over-income families. A spokeswoman for HUD also tells us the department is also looking to make changes.
We do want to deconcentrate poverty, so we are looking for an income mix. We do want to have some families who have some employment income or higher incomes.
Back in Hopewell, residents like Cheryl say with so many waiting to get into public housing, one person over the limit is one too many.
We may have 5 families living over here in a car, while there's one person living over here that ought to be staying at the Hyatt.
Working for you, I'm Chelsea Rarick for CBS 6 News.